Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now we're back and we're talking about one of the largest assets. Of course, that's the home. Many people sat on the sidelines, decided not to buy because rates and or prices were just too high. So, Barb, there are ways to make homes more attractive and affordable to buyers, get them to buy. Tell us about them.
Well, it's really interesting right now that um, a lot of people think that they have to have their house looking perfect in order to sell it. And what I'm finding is it's just not true. It's the number one factor. It's almost like a 70% factor is pricing. I've seen some homes that were just really a disaster. I mean, the plumbing was broken. There was pink latex paint splashed on the walls and the railings, holes in the drywall. But that one had multiple offers, because it was already priced in the work that needed to be done. And now what buyers are doing is they're like, you know what? I can get a rehab loan and fund up to 35,000 into my loan to make those repairs myself and get a really good deal on a house. So buyers are pretty smart right now, I think, and they can find a deal no matter what because they're taking a look at everything that's available to them in their price range. Now, occasionally I'll have a few that don't pick up on the fact that a home might be priced very realistically. And that's okay. I understand that. But that has to do with how long they've been looking and whether or not they really are familiar with the market. So there are some homes that actually sell faster than others. I think the stats are so far year to date, on average in the Pikes Peak region, only about 700 homes a year sell. I'm sorry, 700 homes a month sell, right? Out of about 3,000. So what about the rest of them, right? Why are they not selling? It has to be price. And it could be marketing. There are times when I see really bad pictures of homes, and I have fun talking to home buyers about it because when they shop online, that is their first showing, right? That is where they're making a decision as to whether or not they're going to spend their gas money to come see the home. So what we're seeing right now is that buyers know if they're good deals. And the way you attract them is with pricing it. Now, if they face a bidding war, they face a bidding war. I had one last weekend where the agent's offer indicated that they had a house to sell and they wanted a long time from contract to close. But she didn't tell me that the house to sell was already had a contract. That was a huge fact that she left out of her offer. And she knew she had competition with another buyer. So after she didn't get the house, oh, well, my buyer would have closed sooner. I'm like, why did you do that? It's just really surprising that there, even some of the more experienced agents sometimes leave out some really critical facts that would make the seller help the seller make a good decision. So there's, I think, a lot of pent-up demand of buyers just waiting for the right opportunity and the right home that hits the market. A lot of them are living in their parents' basements and saving money until the right one hits the market. I'm seeing a lot of that because the interest rates haven't helped us over the past couple of years. We saw it go down to 6. Now it's up to 6.75. And so one of the ways that you can really attract a buyer, besides pricing right, is offer some kind of incentives, maybe closing costs. That's what the builders are doing. Now, many of the buyers' agents are assuming the seller will pay closing costs. They're assuming it's really a tough buyer's market, but I don't see that. I think it's still a pretty strong market and there's good demand for homes, but it's all about pricing it correctly. And the builders know this. They know exactly what to do. They will promise all kinds of stuff, but they price it into their sales price. So maybe they might have a 475 house that they price at 5, And then they offer the buyer, oh, look, I'll pay down your interest rate so you'll have lower payments. When you actually do the math on those things, it may not be the best deal, but a brand new home is almost irresistible for a lot of buyers. So some of the incentives that will work for a home seller would be to offer interest rate buy downs. And it might turn a maybe buyer into a serious buyer if you really need that. You may not need it if you price it right and you're looking at multiple offers. In that case, you're kind of in the best position. And here's the problem is right now, the way the market is, the rent is pretty high. And it's just in general, housing is very expensive. But buyers know that home ownership is a way to fix their payment and even have the option of lowering their payments if the rates come down and be able to build equity. So they know, I think the buyers are out there, but the challenge is making sure that you get them to make an offer based on attracting the buyer. So it starts with that online presentation first. On that online presentation, they will not show up if it isn't priced right. They may not show up if it needs work, but most of the time it's price number one. Another way that's a problem that creates a problem for home buyers, and home sellers often have to deal with these offers, is that the buyers will come and go, oh, I love your home, but I have a house to sell. Will you reserve the home for me and wait for me to sell my home? Right? Most home sellers are like, no, I'm not going to do that. So there is a solution for that. We have all kinds of solutions that we can help people through that transition in between houses. And just a lot of agents aren't really, they don't take the time or the effort to get educated about it. But there is definitely a way to transition and get your equity out of your current home to buy your next home many times without getting stuck with two payments. But instead of turning buyers away, a strategy might be to really make that presentation to attract the buyer to make an offer. And at the end of the day, we're seeing about half the buyers come in and offer concessions, meaning they're saying, okay, we'll take the house, we'll pay you full price, but Mr. and Mrs. Seller, will you please pay $21,000 in my buyer's closing costs? I mean, if you have multiple offers, the seller's going to be like, reject, let's move on to this guy, right? Wouldn't you react that way, Richard?
I would react exactly that way, Barb.
Yeah. And you know, they had a chance to make their best offer. I published that we have more than one offer. It's right there on their phone. They just have to click and read it. And many times they don't, and then they're so surprised when they don't get the house. So it's really, really critical to communicate well when you have that situation. And if you can attract multiple buyers, then you're in the catbird seat and you can actually really get the best price for your home. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show. And we're talking about how smart home sellers attract buyers. It's mostly with pricing, but some of it is also with how the home is presented to the market. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how you actually position the home so it lands on every buyer's must-see list. And if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker, the host of the program, and she is the owner proprietor of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. We're talking today about how to position your home so that it lands on every buyer's must-see list, and you take it from.
Well, Richard, I think you know, one of the things that you need to really focus on is to get what I call the 5 P's right. Picking the right agent, preparing the home properly, pricing it strategically, that's really important, and making sure it's promoted aggressively. Now, what do I mean by that? So a majority of agents will just do what I call post and hope. They take the pictures, or hopefully they're doing professional pictures, but not all of them do. Post it in the MLS and hope some other agent has a buyer, and they don't have any buyers. They don't have any way to attract buyers. I actually had an open house last weekend, Richard. It had at least 80 people there. It was a lot of people. I took a picture of all the shoes because I figured they didn't want to have pictures of them taken. But, so why was it like that? Because it was priced right and it was promoted properly. And I remember one of the buyers came up to me and she goes, "Is this normal?" I said, it's really all about pricing and having it promoted right, I said it's normal for me, but it may not be normal for most real estate agents. So marketing absolutely matters, because if they don't like the pictures, you can't get them in the door. And actually, those pictures are presented online. You only have seconds to make an impression. And a lot of the agents really don't know how to do that. They don't know how to pick the best pictures, and they don't really understand. They might put 20 pictures of the backyard before you get to the kitchen. Well, if you only have seconds to make an impression, most buyers aren't going to flip through 20 pictures. They're just going to move on to the next house. They eliminate them online very quickly. And typically, most homes that fail to sell, it's because they've priced it wrong. It could be that it's poorly presented. I had one a few years back with one of my agents. There were two houses in the neighborhood. They were both the identical floor plan, and the buyer bid on the one that looked pretty online, but he got shot down. He had a competing offer. There was another one on the market, exact same home, actually in better condition, but the pictures were so bad, the agent literally had to twist the buyer's arm to get them into the house. And then when he went inside, he's like, "Oh, this is very nice." So occasionally you're going to see weak marketing out there. So as a buyer, I wouldn't let that stop you if you can't find the right home. But as a seller, you should know, don't let an agent do that to you. You need to scrutinize it just as much as the agent does, and make sure that presentation is something that does not create what I call demand destruction, meaning you're going out there on the market repelling buyers. You don't want to do that. There's two ways you do it. You repel buyers by pricing it too high, and you repel buyers by having bad marketing. We know how to fix both of those problems. And then there are some people that just don't want to deal with going on the market and having strangers come through their house and the normal process. A lot of people are like, "I don't want to do it." And I don't blame them. There are some situations where it's very uncomfortable for sellers to have strangers come through their house. So we have all kinds of cash offer buyers that will come in and buy your home, where you don't have to deal with showings, you don't have to deal with repairs, you don't have to deal with getting the house ready for sale, you don't have to hold it open or anything like that. And if you are interested in getting one of those offers, just give us a call at 719-301-3900, or visit barbhasthebuyers.com and click on the green button that says cash offers. Richard.
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about new commission rules that could save home sellers thousands. Plus, we'll share some hot new listings from Barb. You don't want to miss those. Stay tuned.